What's up, guys, and welcome to the first part in our nutrition webinar series. In the first edition, we're covering the nuts and bolts of nutrition. What we will cover today is adherence and how you can find a nutrition plan that is perfect for you. Energy balance, what calories in versus calories out means. Macronutrients, proteins, carbs, and fats, what they mean and how they can help you achieve your goals. Food choices and what matters when it comes to choosing your food for nutrition. Meal timing and frequency, does it actually matter? We'll be busting a few myths there. And finally, just a small section on habits and behaviors and how you can develop long-term success through nutrition to achieve results that last. All right, first up, we're going to look at adherence. And I know a lot of people out there suffer from what I like to call paralysis via analysis. They overthink nutrition because there is so much conflicting and misinformation out there. They follow diets that other people follow because they know a friend that had success with the X, Y, and Z diet. They don't stick to it long enough to see results because it's unsustainable. They give up and they start to develop a story in their head that diets don't work for them or that a certain method is not sustainable for them. And I want you to keep something in mind. There is no single approach that is better than others when it comes to nutrition. The best approach is the one you can adhere to. And anything you learn today through the nuts and bolts of nutrition will always relate back to what is best for my adherence. Food choices, what can you adhere to? Meal timing and frequency, what can you adhere to? Principles of nutrition, everything else will just come back to what is sustainable for you, because the diet is not something that you're going to follow for 12 weeks. It's something you can follow for at least 12 months. And the certain things that you should ask yourself when figuring out what's the best diet plan for you to improve your adherence. Number one, what can I see myself following for the next 12 months? Number two, will this help me achieve my goals? And number three, will this impact my performance inside and outside the gym? Those are the three main questions you should be asking yourself. And if you can't answer yes to all of those questions, then no, it is not the right diet or nutritional approach for you, because you will not be able to adhere to it while achieving your goals without impacting your performance inside and outside the gym. Now, something I want you to consider when it comes to adherence is you shouldn't be asking if you right now can adhere to this meal plan. You should be asking, well, the person that you want to be, can they adhere to this meal plan or dietary approach? Because currently the habits and behaviors that you have developed right now have shaped the person that you currently are. And most of us want to make a change in some fashion. We need to start thinking about that person that we want to transform into. What habits, behaviors, and mindset do you need to develop to become that person? Because we need their level of adherence, not our level of adherence. So we can't use what we like to do now as an excuse not to be able to make changes in our lifestyle to form new habits and see different results. So adherence is based on the person that we want to become, and 100% you will need to make changes to your lifestyle and your behaviors to transform your body and mind. Anything else you learn today, once again, will relate back to adherence, which is what we've just covered in this first topic. All right, now that we have covered adherence, let's look at energy balance. Now, energy balance is the old term calories in versus calories out, and I hope that makes sense to you. Now, whether you count calories or not, I think it's really important to know that calories still matter for fat loss, muscle gain, and performance. However you track them, whatever you do to measure your nutrition, whether you do measure your calories, whether you eyeball it, or whether you just follow a meal plan that someone else has wrote for you, they are all based around managing your energy balance. And I think it's important to note that there is so many dietary systems out there, keto, fasting, all that sort of stuff. Whether they admit it or not, they still incidentally relate back to energy balance. Fasting, for example, has you skipping meals through a certain portion of the day. So whether they admit it or not, incidentally, you're eating less food. Therefore, you're eating less calories than you burn, so you can induce fat loss. Keto, once again, there's no carbohydrates in the keto diet, so you're restricting 1/3 of your food groups. Incidentally, you're going to eat less food, therefore you're eating less calories than you burn. That's energy balance. So whether you like it or not, whether you find tracking calories a pain in the butt or whether you follow a meal plan that's promoting some other system, the only way they do get results is by managing your energy balance behind the scenes. Now, one thing I want you to note, managing your energy balance isn't just about restricting your food intake. Your energy output and training performance are also important variables. If you restrict your energy balance to lose weight through food, you're probably going to become less active because you have less energy, or you're going to be lazy in the gym. Therefore, your energy output is not going to be as high as it should be. Your calorie deficit won't be as great as it should be to achieve results. Does that make sense? So your average energy balance over time is more than just that daily snapshot. If you go over on one day, you're not going to stop seeing results. If you go under on a certain day, you're not going to stop seeing results. What matters is adherence over a long period of time. You don't need to be perfect when it comes to tracking your calories, but you can work within a 5 to 10% range. Okay, because I think that's what stops people trying, is because they aim for perfection. And if their numbers are off slightly, they feel like they've failed. It becomes too hard and overwhelming. So key takeaway points so far: energy balance matters for fat loss and muscle gain. Any dietary system you follow will relate back to energy balance, whether they admit it or not. Energy balance isn't just managed through diet, it's also managed through your activity. And track your energy balance over a large window of time, not just on a daily basis. Look at the averages. All right, now that we've covered the basics of energy balance, let's look at food and how we use it for body composition at PPS. I want you to think of food as fuel for performance. All right, so when you hear of someone mentioning a calorie deficit, that is less fuel than you need to operate on a daily basis. Therefore, that will lead to weight loss. If you're eating more food than you need on a daily basis, that's a calorie surplus. That will lead to weight gain. Okay, so I haven't used fat loss, fat gain, muscle loss, or muscle gain yet in my terminology, because energy balance, calories in versus calories out, only relates to body weight for now. Okay, and then obviously if you're eating at a maintenance calories, that's equal in, equal out. Therefore, you should see no changes to your body weight. Now, for a calorie deficit for fat loss, you need to be eating around 350 to 500 calories per day, less than what you need. The opposite can be said for weight gain or muscle gain. You need to be eating plus 350 to 500 per day on a consistent basis. So it's really important to note that if you're always in a calorie deficit, that's eating 500 calories less per day than your body requires to lose body fat. If you eat a little bit more than that, you still are generally in a deficit. You just won't see as fast results as the 500 calorie deficit will give you. So that leads us to sort of just mentioning here as a bit of a side note, you don't need to beat yourself up if you've been consistently following a calorie deficit and you have a few days here and there where you eat more food than prescribed, because more than likely you haven't put yourself out of a deficit. You might have eaten at maintenance, or you might have just eaten a little bit more than your own deficit. So you've probably just seen slightly slower results, but it's nothing to beat yourself up over, because your energy balance is still in favor of where you need to be. So now that we've covered the basics of energy balance, calories in, calories out, we'll tell you how we calculate your energy balance, or how you can calculate it, and the importance of training when it comes to managing your energy balance, and how we like to go through different phases of energy balance to make your results more sustainable. All right, so Your energy balance, just like a performance car, is structured around, first off, who you are as a person. That's your chassis and your engine. Okay, so your age, your gender, height, weight, everything about you dictates your energy balance, just like it does for every different car that's got a different size engine capacity and fuel tank. You're no different. All right. And then the style of training that you do, how active you are inside and outside the gym, all of that stuff will also dictate your energy balance. So if you're a bigger person and you're quite active, even to lose fat, you're probably going to be consuming a lot of calories compared to a smaller person who is less active. So this is where it becomes really important to note that you should not tie yourself to any specific number for fat loss or muscle gain because you've heard it on Instagram or through someone else. Your specific energy needs can be very different to anyone else's specific energy needs, dependent on all these variable factors. Okay, so now when we look at managing our energy balance, we look at our 3 different phases. So a lot of people make the mistake of wanting to lose body fat. Therefore, they eat in a calorie deficit for a very long, extended period of time, maybe not even leaving that deficit. Okay, obviously the results will come nicely first and foremost, but over time, those results will start to plateau. They'll get tired. They'll be sick of eating less food all the time. It'll be harder for them to adhere in the long term. And the same could be said for someone who just stays in an extended muscle building phase. Their results will start to plateau. They'll need to shake things up a little bit over a longer period of time. So in this example, you can see that we've structured different phases to go through and managing your energy balance. Phase 1 is fat loss. 90% of people do come to PPS specifically for fat loss. So let's start there. Let's put someone in a fat loss phase. And the question always comes up, how long should I stay in a fat loss phase? Obviously, you can stay in it as long as you like. We recommend not staying in a fat loss phase any longer than what it takes for you to lose 10% of your current body weight. If you're 90 kilos, that's 9 kilos. If you're 70 kilos, that's 7 kilos, and so forth. All right. And this could take 12 to 16 weeks. It could even take 6 months. It depends on your starting point and your rate of weight loss. So once again, you'll be in a fat loss phase, losing 10% of your body weight. And that's a calorie deficit of around 350 to 500 calories below your maintenance. What happens then? Do you just carry on losing fat? Do you just bump your calories all the way up? What's the best thing to do here? I recommend going into phase 2, which is a maintenance phase. We call this a bridging phase because you're on a bridge between the fat loss and a muscle building phase to allow your body to settle for a bit. Okay, so in a maintenance phase, we'll reestablish baseline calories, we'll increase calories to maintenance, and we'll maintain or increase our performance in the gym because we can put this extra food to use now. Then once we feel comfortable, we've crossed that bridge, we can go into a calorie surplus. That means eating 500 calories above maintenance. That's 1,000 calories above your fat loss phase. And you can start to increase your muscle mass while keeping your current and new body fat levels stable. Okay, now once you've gotten your muscle mass or increased that, which does take an extended period of time, to a level that you're happy with, that means you've been able to make physical changes to your body and probably been able to lift better weights in the gym. You can then revisit your next fat loss phase and maybe get even leaner with some newfound muscle mass and reveal a whole new version of yourself. And that's the benefit of understanding and managing your energy balance so that you're not just joining the gym to lose some fat and you're just stuck there. You just get leaner, a little bit lighter on the scales, but maybe you want to unveil different versions of your body each time. That means going through different energy balance phases, and that means being comfortable eating various different amounts of food. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind is energy balance, as I mentioned before, isn't just created through diet. Your energy output, that's your daily incidental activity, that's your training performance, that's your steps, your training frequency, how active you are at work. All of that stuff needs to be consistent as well as your nutrition. If you're very inconsistent with your energy output, that means the deficit or the surplus you're trying to create with consistent nutrition is always going to be more or less than what you want it to be because your activity output keeps changing. So I want you to keep in mind that the deficit you create both through activity and nutrition both have to be consistent. And ultimately, the goal to create a better body, you need to be training better and outperforming yourself each week in the gym. And that's where food is fuel for your performance so that you can help build a better body for yourself using that food. Okay, so now that we've covered energy balance, let's get into the nitty gritty of macronutrients. Everybody's heard the term, if it fits your macros, bro. And everybody knows what most macronutrients are. That's proteins, carbs, and fats. Everybody probably knows that protein is important in the gym. Most people are scared of carbohydrates, and most people are probably scared of fats because both are generally demonized by the media. So let's just cover the basics of each and why all of them are important to achieving your goals. And at PPS, we don't believe in cutting any out. So macronutrients. They are the food groups that make up your calories. Each macronutrient equals a certain amount of calories per gram. So your energy balance is your calories. Your macronutrients are the foods that make up those calories. And we like to track our macros because calories will help you lose or gain weight. Macros will depend on how you look at any given body weight and also how you perform at any given body weight. So they are very important at PPS as body composition specialists because that's what macros do. So first and foremost, yes, protein is the most important macronutrient. It is worth 4 calories per gram. Protein helps you build and repair muscle. It keeps you fuller for longer in between meals, increases your satiety. So once again, protein is important for adherence because it's going to help you stick to a meal plan because of those key points. Now, when it comes to protein, you should prioritize the minimum amount to achieve your goals, which for most people is 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilo of body weight. Okay, so if you're a 90 kilo person, on average, you might have about 180 grams per day of protein, the macronutrient. Then when you get to carbohydrates, most people have been taught that carbs are the devil for fat loss. Now, this is definitely not true. Okay, carbs will increase your performance. They will increase your energy levels, and it's usually to adhere to a meal plan if your carbs are too low. So we go back to rule number 1 in this seminar is adherence is king. So if you can't adhere to a low carb diet, it is not the best diet for you and it won't help you long term. Therefore, you shouldn't follow it. Carbohydrates are essential for improving your performance in the gym, and strong performance inside and outside the gym is essential for achieving your body composition goals. Then we look at fats. Fats are important as well. They're good for your health and well-being. So it's not just about how you look or what weights you can lift. We're looking to improve our overall health and well-being. Fats will make up the rest of your calories outside of protein and carbs, and you need to allow how much you prefer to improve your adherence. So if you prefer a higher fat diet just purely to improve your adherence because you like fattier foods than carbohydrate-based foods, then go for it, as long as you don't lose your performance in the gym. If you prefer a lower fat diet because you're a bit of a carb junkie, then design yourself a moderate protein, lower fat, high carb diet. That'll improve your adherence, and that is, once again, the king of nutrition. Now that we understand what macronutrients are, does that mean we can just design our calories and macros and eat whatever we want, no matter what type of food it is, to fit our macros? Yes and no. I want you to consider these things when making food choices for your nutrition. Number 1, what is the best for my adherence? What foods will help me stick to my plan? Number 2, what will make the best use of my energy balance? If you pick very high calorie foods, generally processed or takeaway or convenience-based foods, it's going to be very hard to manage your energy balance because they will use up most of it in certain meals, leaving you hungrier in other areas of the day. Obviously, number 3, this is important. What do I enjoy eating? Once again, I'll take you back to adherence. What do I enjoy eating? What does the person I want to become enjoy eating? Maybe we should reframe it that way, because what you enjoy eating now is good. We need some of that. But remember that a lot of these habits and behaviors are why we are currently not happy with our current situation. So there does need to be a compromise there. Okay. Now, the approach we like to take at PPS when choosing your foods, 80% whole foods, 20% soul foods. Okay. That means 1/5 of your daily diet can be dedicated to fun stuff. Okay. No overthinking it, no guilt associated. Okay. So even if you're on the basic 1500 fat loss diet, the 1500 calorie diet, that means 1/5, that's 300 calories of eating whatever you want. Okay, and there should be no rules associated with that, no guilt or no labeling of food, because a lot of people like to label their food good, bad, healthy, and unhealthy. We label our foods whole foods and soul foods at PPS, and you should have 80% of the whole food, 20% of the soul food, no questions asked, no guilt associated. And that, once again, will help you achieve your goals, maintain your long-term adherence, and it won't impact your performance inside and outside the gym, which are our 3 main considerations today. Now, we get a lot of questions around food choices when eating out. Okay, and at PPS, I like to preach the good, better, best approach. Any situation you're in, any situation, eating out, eating at home, going around to a friend's house for dinner, all that sort of stuff, you're always presented with choices, or you can make certain choices. Now, I structure these choices on 3 tiers. First, you get the good option. Okay, it's like, it's not bad, it's probably not the best, but I'm okay making that choice. I'm okay making the good choice, and I'm comfortable that it will slow down my results. Okay, well, there is a better choice I could be making. It's not the absolute best choice. I don't want to make the best choice, but there is a better one than the one I was going to make. I'm going to make the better choice and increase my chances of seeing results. Or there is the absolute best choice, which generally requires the most sacrifice. If you make the best choice, you're more than likely, if you make the best choice consistently over time, you're more than likely going to see the best results. However, that might not be sustainable for you all the time, and it might impact your adherence. So you need to go through and make your own decisions, but you also need to decide where you're at any given phase and what's best for your long-term mindset. Okay, good, better, and best. Use that approach when making any decision when it comes to nutrition, because none of them are really bad decisions. Some are just better than others, and we are presented with those options. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to make one that aligns with your goals as best as possible. Okay, so we get asked a lot, and a lot of people struggle with this. I used to be one of them. I never used to track my calories. I never used to track my macros. I used to restrict carbohydrates. I used to eat a lot of protein, and I used to eat every 2 hours, small meals, 6 meals per day, and drink a protein shake after training, before bed, and as soon as I woke up. I had no idea why I did any of that. I did all of that probably just because that's what other people taught me to do, and there was no real questioning or reasoning behind it. And it wasn't until I stopped doing all of that stuff and focused on what matters, which was my adherence, my energy balance, and my macros, then made food choices around it and relaxed on my meal timing and frequency, because I understood it didn't matter when I eat, it just mattered what suited me best, that I started to see long-term sustainable results. So meal timing and frequency, does it matter? Okay. Now I'm going to take you all the way back to the main questions of this webinar to help you decide what matters for you when it comes to meal timing and frequency. Because having to eat 6 small meals per day every 2 hours is a complete myth. You can eat all your carbs after 6 p.m. if you have to. You can eat after 9 p.m. at night if you have to. You don't have to drink a protein shake straight after training, first thing in the morning, or before bed to prevent muscle wastage, or to, the rest of the myths are based around boosting your metabolism, because your body does not work on a 24-hour clock. Your body's metabolism does not. It works over an extended average period of time. and focusing on all that small, minute stuff without having the basics of adherence, energy balance, or macronutrients covered is only going to lead to frustration and almost takes you all the way back to paralysis via analysis, because you're overthinking it and not focusing on what matters. So what does matter for meal timing and frequency? Number one, when you eat should be based on what is best for your adherence. What eating schedule and what size of meals will be best for you to adhere to. Some things to consider though. Yes, a more consistent routine will always be best for adherence. You need to be able to predict in advance your routine. If your routine is irregular, always revert back to what matters most. That's adherence, that's energy balance. And just keep in mind, you can play catch up if you miss meals on certain days or even over a week, because once again, your body's metabolism can work even on a 7-day average, and you can calculate that average. Traditional meal timing rules are myths. There is no right answer. The only right answer is what is best for your adherence. So if I was using an example client, we would have their overall energy balance worked out, their macronutrients based on their goals and what they can adhere to. We would have designed our meal plan based around their chosen food choices or thereabouts. Meal timing and frequency will come down to when they train, when they wake up, when they go to bed. Their work schedule is obviously very important, and their social schedule, as well as just personal preference. These are the sort of things that we take into account to make up your meal timing and frequency. Okay, so key takeaway there, all the meal timing and frequency myths you've heard before are exactly that. They're not true. You need to just find out what works best for you on a most consistent basis as possible and stick to it. If you lose your consistency and lose your routine, go back to the basic principles of adherence and energy balance, average it out over time, and you'll still come out on top without all the stress and having to overthink the usual meal timing and frequency myths. Guys, I hope this is making sense. What we have covered so far is number one rule is adherence, okay? Design anything, stick to something that you can adhere to long term and covers the basics of what is best for me long term, what helps me achieve my goals, and what won't compromise my performance inside and outside the gym. Your energy balance, that means your energy input and your energy output, calories in, calories out, needs to be consistent, okay? And both of those need to be, and you want to go through different phases over time, okay? That's fat loss, muscle building, and maintenance phases. Your macronutrients will play an important role in your adherence, and also will help with your body composition and performance. Food choices, 80% whole foods, 20% soul foods is our approach, okay? And that is to improve long-term adherence, achieve your goals, plus limit any guilt associated with not eating what people label as good foods, bad foods, clean and unhealthy. And meal timing and frequency, does it matter? Yes and no. Yes, consistency and routine matters. No, there's no right answer for anyone or any certain rules that are best for anyone at all. You need to stick to what you can adhere to the most. Now, just wrapping up the nuts and bolts, part one of our nutrition webinar, habits, behaviors, and mindset. So now you understand the what, the how, and the why. We need to get our head around what we can stick to, what we need to do, and what changes need to happen to us to see results with our nutrition. Here's some things you might want to consider. And I've touched on this already. Yes, you will need to make changes to your lifestyle and your mindset to see changes in your body and health. Okay? Just because you've learned all of this stuff, it doesn't mean you can just continue living the same lifestyle and expect results. Okay? Adherence is based on the person you want to become, not your current adherence, okay? And the changes you need to make need to align with that person. What decisions, what changes, what habits have they made to become the person they are, okay? Now, back to paralysis via analysis. Imperfect action is better than perfectionism. Doing something, anything, and aiming for improvement is better than doing nothing at the fear of failure. That might mean just loosely starting to track your calories, guessing it. Okay. You might build on that and start to be more precise. You might start weighing your food. You might start really dialing in your macros. Okay. But you need to start somewhere first, and starting at the most full end scale will generally lead to frustration and giving up. Start with what's easiest for you and build upon that, making 1% improvements over time. All right. Now, build your own habits around increasing your adherence. If you have an issue with adherence or sticking to something, don't blame the plan. Look for what you can do to improve either yourself, what needs to happen inside and outside the gym to improve your adherence, or what changes you can make with your food choices, your meal time, and your frequency, your macros. Okay, so there's certain things and habits that will impact your adherence. We look at your meal preparation. Once again, if there's a lack of preparation, all this will fall apart. Okay, so you need to develop that habit of meal prep. Your food choices, irregular eating patterns, all of that sort of stuff will lead to us struggling with adherence. So build habits around improving your adherence. Food labeling. There are no good foods or bad foods, only good foods that help you achieve your goals and maintain your adherence. Okay, so there's no labeling of foods. And I think that's very important to remember. Okay, some foods won't help you achieve your goals. You will need to give them up. Okay, it might be because there's a lack of control around eating those foods. It might be simply because they don't just fit into your energy balance and macros, and that doesn't help with the smartest way to partition your meals throughout the day. So you may need to visit that, but don't label foods. Label foods as good for your goals and adherence or bad for your goals and adherence, but not just good and bad. Okay. Learn your triggers. Okay. Learn your triggers for cravings. Okay. Problem solve why you're craving. Are you thirsty? Are you bored? Are your meals not spaced out properly? Are you not eating enough protein? Are your calories too low? There's a reason you have cravings. It could also be emotional, okay? That's not a nutrition issue. That's a personal issue. There's things, once again, you need to revisit in your lifestyle to improve upon to help increase your adherence. So once again, learn your triggers, which are stopping you being able to adhere to your plan, or revisit the plan to improve its ability for you to adhere to it, okay? And then lastly, this is a big one, never go off track more than one day at a time, or try not to, okay? It is absolutely fine to miss a day of nutrition. It's fine to go completely out of your calorie intake for a day, okay? It's a problem when it happens consistently over time. It's a problem when one day leads to 5 days off and you miss a whole week, and then that triggers other responses like guilt and shame, okay? Have a bad day. Enjoy it. Write it off, start again the next day, okay? Allow yourself to make mistakes, because the only way we can learn and improve and consistently tweak things to improve our adherence is to make mistakes. It is to try, to fail, to learn, and to re-implement, okay? Measure it, manage it, make changes, and reapply it. So I hope that helps, guys. Today we covered the nuts and bolts of nutrition, okay? Once again, we covered adherence. We covered energy balance, macronutrients, food choices, meal timing and frequency, and a small touch on habits and behaviors, okay? That should be enough to get you thinking, get you started, and hopefully help reframe your mindset around diets, nutrition, calories, macros, all of that stuff, okay? I really hope that helped. If you have any questions, please let me know. Keep an eye out for part 2 in our nutrition webinar series, where we go a little bit more in detail on habits and how you can reframe your habits to see better results inside and outside the gym.